Hello everyone, my name is Krishna. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing the final review of the Vinegar Syndrome March package. Today we are going to be talking about the double feature featuring Hard Rock Zombies and Slaughterhouse Rock. So first and foremost, this is definitely metal movies. I really enjoyed that aspect of both of these. They had a pretty heavy soundtrack throughout. A lot of great kills, really great visuals. And now it's time to go into specifics. That's just my very surface level reaction to this double feature. I just finished it, by the way. I have the TV on actually still. But Hard Rock Zombies is the last one that I watched, which I said I was going to do during my unboxing video. And I was pleasantly surprised and also disappointed because first of all, Hard Rock Zombies is a 1985 film, so this is right dead in the middle of the 80s, very 80s. Hard Rock Zombies is definitely a product of its time. It is directed by Krishna Shai, and there's a lot of I guess South Asian people involved in this movie. This definitely reminds me of the 80s action movies like Samurai Cop or I'm trying to think, just one of those movies where a non-American wanted to make an American film and they don't really get every single aspect of American filmmaking, and so you get a lot of bizarre dialogue for the most part. I think with Samurai Cop, it is so just really bizarre. Samurai Cop is a great movie. I love it. But the dialogue is definitely not the best part, and this is very much the same exact case here with Hard Rock Zombies. Hard Rock Zombies is really bizarre because there are many different influences when you watch this movie. You have a lot of Texas Chainsaw going on. You have a lot of Return of the Living Dead going on. Night of the Living Dead. I wouldn't say House of a Thousand Corpses because that came 20 years later. But House of a Thousand Corpses was definitely something that was in my mind watching this movie. But the very bare minimum recounting of the plot, which is actually very similar to the really bad Andrea Bianchi film Burial Ground, which was released by Severin, actually. And the plot is very similar to that, where instead of a band or a family coming in to this town and discovering zombies, it is instead a heavy metal band. They have come to this house or this village and they want to do a big concert. And the mayor's daughter is dating the singer of the band. And the mayor, of course, is like, rock and roll is evil, it is satanic, and it is awful. And we get all this kind of obstacles between the band and the town. This is very much, I'm trying to think of the 20 different movies I've seen in the last few years, where we always have, something that the town doesn't like. It comes to town, they start to learn about it, and they come around to it. I think the Kevin Bacon movie, whatever that one is, where John Lithgow is the priest, and he doesn't like rock and roll. It is very much the same with Hard Rock Zombies. But this time we have a woman who's like the matriarch of the family. This is where the House of a Thousand Corpses was coming in for me. And she kind of hitchhikes all up and down the highway, trying to just lure horny people to her house. And most of the time, she lures them to a nearby pond. A pretty disgusting pond, actually. It was not, I would not swim in it, personally. But She lures them, she drowns them, kills them in some way, while all her crazy relatives are filming her. And we get a couple little people in this movie with really bad makeup on. Like, it's just straight up Halloween masks. And so, it doesn't look the best, but, whatever. They were fine. They were interesting. At least they were different in terms of your normal horror film. But, suddenly, after that scene of her seducing and murdering a bunch of men, we get the big rock scene where we have this in every single heavy metal movie, where we get kind of the intro to the plot, and then we get, cut to band playing. Heavy Trip, Deathgasm. What other hard rock movies are there? I haven't seen many, but the ones I've seen I've enjoyed. But they're playing, and they play an entire song over and over again throughout the movie. We get a lot of great parts where our band are slowly kind of unraveling the mystery around this House of a Thousand Corpses family. But while they're performing, we get a lot of citizens saying, "Oh, we don't want these rockers coming to our town. We got to ban rock and roll." And so we have this really bizarre kind of council meeting with like the local government or whatever, and the cops are there, the citizens are there, and they're going through the motion, I guess, to ban rock and roll, which they view as equally horrible as gypsies, sex toys, questioning authority. It's a very conservative town. So our band is like, "Oh, we don't care if they don't want us. We're going to go there and show them how to rock." And so slowly but surely, they go back and forth between House of a Thousand Corpses house / Texas Chainsaw House. And then they go back into town because it's a small little town. And we have a couple scenes of people dying, and some people die at the house, the Texas Chainsaw House, getting killed too. One thing that Vinegar Syndrome notes at the beginning of this movie is that they had to reinsert a lot of the blood effects in this movie. And it was really interesting because they said in this long paragraph before the movie started that they were trying to make the movie R-rated so that they wouldn't, be kicked off the theater circuit or whatever. And so the producers took out all of the gore parts in the movie. They kept some, just to keep it, exciting. But the thing that was really sucky, and I don't have this any ill will towards the filmmakers or Vinegar Syndrome for this, mostly just the producers, but there was like 2 VHS tapes, maybe, that had the original cut of the movie, and Vinegar Syndrome just was unable to find a fresher copy than a VHS rip. And so it was fun to kind of look at and study what, was cut and what was, kept in the movie. There was a couple times I'm like, oh, someone just got slashed in the throat. Like, okay, it's not awful. I don't think it would get an NC-17 rating. But it was really fun to just kind of follow that. But I think my favorite part about this movie is that there were a lot of music videos going on that kind of progressed the plot, where the filmmakers just didn't know what to do at this point. But they knew that there had to be music at this point because this is a hard rock movie. And so they will just burst into song. Our entire band. Doesn't even matter where they are, who they're with, anything. They are getting violently attacked by zombies at one point. And one by one, they are getting killed. And they're still singing and playing the guitars. And also, nobody in that band I don't think actually knows how to play any of the instruments that they're playing, because especially the drummer, he is really, I guess, noticeable, because he's just kind of like, and every now and then he does something with his left hand, and you're like just looking at him, and you can hear the song was like, and he's just like, it's like it added to the charm for me. It was really bad. The singer was probably the only one who couldn't fake it. He was probably lip syncing, but whatever. I don't mind. But every time they did a music video, they were, at least for the first one, the first two, there were like 4 of them in this movie. But in the first 2, they were just like filming the band walking around town, like actual town, not just a set. And you could see people going, like in the background, going like, oh, look at those people. And at one point, I guess the director just gathered all the old people in the town, and he was like, okay, like the singer's gonna go across and be dancing, and pretend like he's a mime, and all this stuff. And they were probably like, oh, okay. And then the moment he pressed play on the camera, they're all like pointing right at the camera and going, oh, camera. And, oh, look at this guy. He's so funny. Oh, he's being a mime, and all this stuff. Except the music is playing, but you see the mouths moving. Like, they're just talking to each other, hanging out. And they do that multiple times in the movie, and I was kind of like, I like this. This is so chaotic. I know the director was either very happy to just be getting paid to hang out, like, with, people. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I wonder how many times he yelled at them and was like, stop looking at the camera. Don't do that. But I'd like to think it was a positive, wholesome experience for them because I really enjoyed watching the movie. There was just way too many downtimes throughout this movie. There's a lot of great music video parts where they just break into song and they go into their own thing. But the biggest issue I had with it is that there's just so many slow parts in between all the great moments. That there were a lot of parts where I was just sitting there looking at my phone. Every now and then I would look up and somebody is talking about, you can't go to town, you can't play at the town. And the guy's going, oh, we're going to play anyways. And they're like, there's nothing we can do except kill you guys. And then they kill them and they become hard rock zombies. And this is like an hour into the movie, and it's an hour and just under an hour and a half. But I think if they didn't have so many plots going on, I haven't even mentioned Hitler yet. Hitler is in this movie. He is one of the crazy people living in this Texas chainsaw house, and he reveals himself just out of nowhere during a dinner scene, which is again just taken straight from Texas Chainsaw. And he reveals himself and he's like, I've been hiding for 40 years. Which, by the way, he would not be that old. He would be in his... Well, I guess we do have a sex scene with him much earlier in the movie. I just kind of realized this now. Excuse me. Is that Hitler has sex with an older woman, and she comments like, wow, you are 94 years old. Trying to hint to us, who this guy is, because it's like, 40 years ago. What was 40 years ago? 1985 or 1984. Or 1984 is when this movie was made. 40 years before that, 1944. I wonder what person was around here. And he's constantly speaking in German, which they don't have subtitles for. I don't know if that's what the filmmaker intended or not, but it was kind of boring watching scenes of him talking minutes at a time and then just not knowing what he's talking about. And I know German somewhat, and I was like, okay, he's just saying random German words. Every now and then he'll throw in Deutsche, and it's like, oh, okay. The actor can kind of speak German, or at least is fluent, and just did what he had to do. But overall, this movie's just okay. I love the fun parts of the movie, which is sprinkled every like 15 to maybe 20 minutes. And so you just have to be patient. Gotta be in the mood for it. I did watch this next movie on its own, though. Well, I guess I watched Hard Rock Zombies second. The first movie I watched was Slaughterhouse Rock. I like this movie a lot more. It is a lot more consistent, in my opinion. The movie is very basic in terms of your plot. It's your typical, paranormal movie. But the story of this is basically Nightmare on Elm Street, part one, a little bit of part two, probably more part two. But our main hero, his name is Alex. He is sleeping in bed. We don't know this at this point, but we get many dream sequences with him where a killer is hunting him down in his dream, and he has to go to a specified location that this killer normally resides at. And we get a lot of great gore throughout all these scenes. And after a few dreams, our main protagonist is like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to go talk to weird professor lady over there. And she's like, wow, that's a really great coincidence. I have been studying this exact same entity that you have been dreaming about. Everything you describe is exactly what I've been reading about this entity that lurks in the depths of Alcatraz Island. Let's go. And literally the next shot, they are on the boat going to Alcatraz. And this is like the first 15 minutes. This movie is very well paced. This movie just keeps on going. It does not waste time at all. This is the type of movie that I should have watched second. But because of how awesome Hard Rock Zombies sounded, I watched it first. But Slaughterhouse Rock is all about just trying to exorcise demons. And we get your typical 80s teenage group where they are constantly having sex. It's just like Nightmare on Elm Street. I noted in my Letterboxd review that it is very Spookies referenced. I don't know. I don't know which came first, Spookies or Slaughterhouse Rock, but the main character of Alex looks exactly the same as our main guy character in Spookies. And it was very spooky, but it kind of threw me off. Every time he popped up, I was like, is he in Spookies? And I looked it up, and he isn't. At least I don't think so, because I clicked on his name on Letterboxd, and I was looking through his acting credits, and I didn't see Spookies on there. I saw a couple other movies I know, but not in Spookies. So I don't know if he has a brother. But so they get to this island, and the woman is like, I know exactly where the entity is. Let's go. And one thing I forgot I didn't even mention is that before the movie even begins, we get a kind of flashback later in the movie. But we have been hearing reports about a heavy metal band that showed up to the tour of Alcatraz Island and to go through the jails and all the prison cells and all that. And apparently there was some shenanigans that went on, and the entire island was shut down, and nobody's allowed to go on there. And so it was really funny to me, the very next shot, after we get the woman kind of explaining what the entity is that's haunting Alcatraz Island. And she's like, we need to go get a boat. And I'm like, okay, how are they going to get onto the island? Like, Alcatraz Island was, like, really fucking hard to get to and to leave. How did they just show up? And they're like, oh, I know a back way. And I'm like, there is no back way. It's an island. Like, it's watched on all sides. But, you know, they got on. No problem. They don't see a single person. There are no gods there, so I guess they caught them at a very good time. And they're exploring, and our main character gets split up. And this is when the movie got fun for me. It was already pretty fun, but this was the moment, because, again, this is 25 minutes in the movie, that I was like, okay, yeah, I like this movie. And it's when our main character gets separated and is brought into basically the dream world. If you're a Wheel of Time fan, it's called Telleraniad. But he basically shows up in the dream world and meets with, I had her name down just now, but Toni Basil, that's her name. She's the woman and dancer who did the song Mickey. Mickey, Mickey, you so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mickey. That song. She's in this movie, and she plays like a lonely ghost of Alcatraz Island. And she was lonely, so she was trying to make a band, and so she and her bandmate showed up to Alcatraz Island and ended up releasing the demon entity into Alcatraz Island. And so we get a really funny, very convoluted behind the scenes and flashback, I guess, scene of her going through the castle or whatever, the prison, and she just like knocks over a bowl or whatever where the entity is residing in for thousands of years, and it's just sitting there on like the concrete floor of Alcatraz behind like a tiny wall, and she's just like singing the entire movie, and she's like, oh, I'm so lonely, and he's like, what's that song that's in my head that you're singing right now? Because apparently every time he dreamed, she would send him, I don't know, radio signals to his brain while he was dreaming, and he would hear the song that she was trying to play on her instruments, but because she's a ghost, she can't touch any instruments. And this is when the movie got insane. But the part about spookies, or the part about this movie that reminded me of spookies, is that we get a lot of scenes of our gang of characters being all together, and one of them goes over here, one goes over there, and one goes somewhere else. And there are multiple points where they're slowly killed off. And honestly, there's only one monster in this movie. It's this guy. This is the entity right here. It's not Christopher Lee. I swear it was Christopher Lee when I first saw it. But he basically possesses other bodies within, I guess, the group, and then just kills the other people. And we get this really convoluted ending that involves a very big explosion of the house that they're wandering through. But it's really bizarre because Alcatraz is like a stone fortress. And at the end of the movie, they have to blow it up, because why not? And there's a really funny point where they're like, all right, it's going to blow. And just out of nowhere, the entire movie changes. And it goes to them in the middle of the desert with like a tiny shed, and they just fill it with explosive, and it blows up, and one of the actresses just kind of falls on the ground, like right in front of the camera. And it's like, okay, it's done. And it's like, to be continued or whatever. And it is so stupid. I loved it. It was absolutely ludicrous, and I was not expecting that. I was expecting like some big climax, but the fact that they were trying to pass Alcatraz Island as a shed in the middle of the desert, it definitely surprised me. I was not ready at all for it. But this movie is just not as 80s as the other one. In terms of the hard rock elements, there is a little bit of it. I mean, Hard Rock Zombies was a lot more metal focused, but Slaughterhouse Rock was a lot more consistent in terms of the quality. And the music is not written, but performed by Devo, who did Rip It, which everybody knows. But the songs in this movie is a lot more atmospheric, while Hard Rock Zombies is a lot more like hard rock. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed Slaughterhouse a lot more, but it is still just okay, in my opinion. I enjoyed watching it. I mean, Slaughterhouse Rock is an hour and 25 minutes. It just keeps going. I mean, they get on the island exactly at 30 minutes. They meet the entity within like the first 5 minutes of them on the island. It is very well paced, Whoever wrote the screenplay knew exactly how to write the screenplay for this. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not good, in my opinion. It's fine. But I think my tastes line up with this movie a lot more. Hard Rock Zombies is a love letter, I guess, to Texas Chainsaw and to, I don't know, Night of the Living Dead and the other movies I mentioned that I can't remember. But I guess it comes down to the question that I always ask in these videos. Would I have bought this if I did not have the subscription? I definitely would have waited, for sure. I think because of the way I was when this was announced, I was very excited to hear, Hard Rock Zombies. I've never heard of this movie before, but because I'm a big metal fan. And watching Hard Rock Zombies, I was like, oh, this movie's confusing as fuck. I don't like Hard Rock Zombies all that much. There are some really great moments that are worth watching the movie for. But Slaughterhouse Rock, I think, is a lot more consistent in terms of the quality, which is that it's good. It's not great. It's not amazing. It's good. And considering Vinegar Syndrome and how, 90% of the movies they do is, awful, and you just really comes down to your taste, I think this was a pretty good release, in my opinion. I love the slipcovers. I love that it shows both sides. I love that you can switch the covers from Slaughterhouse Rock to Hard Rock Zombies. It doesn't do the original covers, which I think this is the original cover. Unsure about Hard Rock Zombies, but this is a good little double feature. I mean, I watched both of these tonight, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I had a really great time just going through these. But I think that's it for today. Well, for this video. Next, I'm going to do my ranking of these films, of the package. So keep your eyes out for that, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you all so much.